My name is Kelly, and I am one of the co-owners of the Weeping Glass, which is an oddity store here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've always kind of been interested in the dark and the macabre, and I really started collecting in my 20s. I had been to a house of oddities and I was taken aback by everything in there, and I really wanted to start my own collection, so I started doing a lot of eBay auctions and collecting. And then many years later, I was a resident artist at Most Wanted Fine Art here in Pittsburgh, and they had asked me to do a pop-up project as part of my residency, and I decided to do a pop-up oddity shop. So I contacted a couple of my friends that were in the industry, as well as some unusual artists, and we got them all together and sort of created this traveling pop-up shop through Most Wanted Fine Art. And that's really kind of how I got my start. After my residency at Most Wanted ended and we had to close down our traveling pop-up shop, which was called Bizarre Bazaar, I really kind of had the itch and knew that this city would be supportive of an oddity shop. I am an independent artist, so I started selling these tiny ghosts in vials, and I put up a pre-order for about 100 of them, got the money from that, created a ton of little ghosts, and then used that money to put a deposit down on a shop up here in Allentown. So I kind of went home and told my business partner, who's my best friend also, I was like, hey, I just rented us a shop. And so we began calling all of our friends that we knew that were in the oddities and art community and asking them if they wanted to send us stuff on consignment. So in October of 2017, we opened our doors with very little stock. Everybody came out. We sold out of nearly everything and had to shut down the next day so that we could regroup and get new stock and contact all of our friends again and have them send us more stuff. And so that's kind of really how the Weeping Glass got started, and then we just kind of built from there, and now we've been here for 9 years. We've moved shops, thank goodness, because this shop is a lot bigger and we have about 4 times the stock of what we started with. But basically we started this business with $1,100 and a few friends. So at first the neighborhood was very skeptical of us. They were not ready for something quite so dark and spooky to be here. There were a lot of questions. There were a lot of religious pamphlets slipped under our doors. But eventually, once they saw that it was actually bringing young people to the area, and we started the night market, which was our 1-year anniversary party, which is now blown up to over 150 unusual oddities vendors, weird art vendors. And it has brought like this new surge of young people up to the area. So, and I am heavily invested in the neighborhood. I go to all the neighborhood meetings. I've made sure to introduce myself to everybody. I know all of my neighbors. I know the people that walk by on the street, their kids' names, all of that. At this point, 9 years later, I've really invested a lot in this community. I also took over the coffee shop around the corner. And so it went from this weird skepticism and wondering if we were part of a cult to really accepting this and embracing it, and seeing the benefit of young business owners coming to the area and wanting to set roots here. So there is not a lot of oddity shops in Pittsburgh. We were the first one. There's a tattoo shop here called the Oddity Shop that sells some vintage, but nothing specifically that has like 2-headed cows or vampire babies, taxidermy, human remains, whatever. So we were kind of the first to lay down roots as far as an oddities and curiosity shops go. We have a lot of other alternative businesses that are popping up here and there in the city. But nothing quite like this that really like embraces the core of what oddities and antiques collecting is. Wow, we have kind of led the charge. Like, nobody's quite touched on this specifically, but have brought their own brand into weird and interesting businesses here in the city. I would say the strangest or most morbid thing that we have sold here at the Weeping Glass, one of two. We had a gentleman contact us. He owned a human vertebrae that was mounted, and he said after he brought it into his home, like it was just bad vibes. He said there were a lot of like weird, unfortunate things happening, and the thing was giving him you know, weird feelings, and he didn't want it in his home anymore. And so we brought it into the shop and we put a tag on it that said cursed vertebrae, and it sold within the first day. So that was probably the strangest, I guess, most haunted item that we've sold. Other than that, you know, we have like fetal skulls that we have sold, all kinds of weird wet specimens, but I would say probably the haunted human vertebrae would have been our top. There is a lot of movement in this space, particularly the back and upstairs in the Weary Traveler. This building was built in 1902. It has been through a lot of changes. It used to be a living space and business, so whoever owned the business lived in the back, and everything was all connected. So Weary Traveler has probably opened my eyes to what's been happening within this space. I can't say for sure if it is intelligent haunting, but there is definitely a lot of residual things happening. I've had a couple of instances with witnesses to some strange things that have happened within the space. Anything from myself and an artist were here one night very late setting up an art show in the exhibit room, and we both clearly heard someone come through the front door in the Weary Traveler and go up the steps. To the point that I was like, I'm gonna go upstairs, you stay here, and I'm gonna go check. If you don't hear from me in 10 minutes, call the police. But nobody was there. So I had always wanted to kind of run an extension of the Weeping Glass where people could stay and experience the Weeping Glass overnight as well. You know, a lot of people walk in here and they're like, oh my God, I could just live here. And so I thought, well, why couldn't you? So when the upstairs neighbors were moving into a larger space, you know, I talked to the landlord and said it'd be really neat if we could put an Airbnb or a B&B of some sort upstairs that's like an extension of the Weary Traveler or the Weeping Glass. And he was like, I'm all for it. He's like, I'll fund it if that's what you want to do. He said, that sounds amazing. You know, we sat down, we talked about it, came up with a game plan, and then summer of 2024, I began working on it, and I was up there for about 6 months, redoing the space, collecting items. Like a lot of the things that are up there, you can't just go out to IKEA and buy. So that was very time consuming. It was a lot of traveling, a lot of antique stores, just trying to amass a collection that took us 9 years here to build in 6 months upstairs. But I knew exactly what I wanted to do with the space from like day one. I knew we wanted to have a seance parlor. I knew there was going to be a witch kitchen. I knew what I was going to do with the entryway and the bedrooms. You know, this is something I'd been dreaming of for a really long time, and being able to really design a space with the Weeping Glass in mind. And the fact that it's haunted, bonus. I love it. The entities that are up there are pretty chill. They're, like I said, I think the majority of it is residual from this building being so old. It's a lot of like habitual things. However, we've had a few things happen with the electronics up there, turning on, turning off on their own, that sort of thing. But beyond that, it's been a very restful stay for a lot of people. The night market is a neighborhood-wide oddities, curiosities, and weird art festival. We have 4 outdoor markets that house anywhere from 20 to 25 vendors a piece, and then 1 large indoor warehouse market that houses another like 60 to 80 vendors. On top of that, we have goth bands, dark wave, post-punk, Batcave DJs come out and spin. We have circus and sideshow performers. We have food trucks, booze tents. It's pretty much anything. It's like a carnival of the weird for little dark heart desires. My main goal, I think, with Night Market, with this shop is, and it is slowly happening, is bringing this neighborhood back to life. There are so many really cool people here and some really cool business owners, and this neighborhood and these people really deserve to see people walking around, shopping, supporting, bringing money back in. This neighborhood has long been deprived of its necessities, a proper grocery store, proper public transit, all of those things. And until this neighborhood can show that there are people up here that need those things, you know, they're not going to get them from the city. So the more people we have up here, the more attention we bring to Allentown, the more likely we are to get the resources that we need to be a functioning neighborhood again. Because this place used to have grocery stores and butchers and delis and all kinds of things. You know, you talk to any of the old timers that have lived here their whole lives, walking up and down the street, they'll tell you exactly what all these buildings used to be. Things that aren't here anymore, but things that honestly make a neighborhood.